Mr Deputy President. This morning I was pleased to release the People First policies in regards to capital markets. And it's interesting, earlier this week I also spoke about the policies in regards to monetary policy. But I must say that it's interesting, after 5 years in this place, the lack of policy discussion by the major parties when it comes to serious economic reform in this country. Now, granted, the Labor Party did make a slight amendment to income tax cuts this year, income tax cuts that were first introduced under the Morrison government in 2019, but the geniuses in that government decided to wait 5 years before they'd actually introduce them. I mean, that's a great way to lose the election, is to actually introduce income tax cuts for 5 years down the track. Generally, the way you do it is you put out some income tax cuts every year so that people feel like they're actually avoiding bracket creep. But apart from that, the only other two discussions we've really had this year is the housing debate over building 6,000 new houses for the next 5 years. That's hardly going to put a dent in the 600,000 immigrants that are coming into this country every year and help house them, and a discussion over how many boards we're going to have on the RBA. Now, that discussion is like shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic. Who cares how many boards the RBA has? What we need to be discussing is serious structural economic reform in this country. And I'm pleased to say that the People First Party, and this is the reason why I quit the LNP, is because I wanted to spend the last 8 months of my term actually discussing real policy for a change, rather than carry on with the clown show in this chamber when you talk, you argue and you shout and you scream over rats and mice. Okay? We need to deal with serious structural reform in this chamber. Okay? And the first place we've got to start with is superannuation, because governance of superannuation funds is appalling. It is a complete and utter disgrace that in what's considered to be a democratic country, we do not allow superannuation fund members to vote for their boards, because those boards then go on and vote in company AGMs, and these companies, the big ASX 200, but all companies listed on the ASX, control the bulk of Australia's economy. Now, if we're going to live in a democratic society, we've got to give the capitalists, and we call ourselves a capitalist society, and while I don't believe in free markets for the same reason I don't believe in fairies in the bottom of a rose garden, because it doesn't exist, I do believe in fair markets, I believe in the risk-reward paradigm, and I believe in rewarding the capitalists. And they're the people who have money in superannuation funds. They're, believe it or not, the worker. And I mean, there's this great, false dichotomy between capitalism and the worker. It's the worker who gets out of bed and puts their nose to the grindstone, whether they're a carpenter or a labourer using their hands, because that's all their capital is, or a teacher or a nurse using their heart and their passion, or a scientist or an engineer. These people are all capitalists. Okay? They all pay their superannuation. They should be allowed to vote on how their capital is allocated. So that is one of the policies the People First Party is advocating. And then the next step in that is superannuation funds cannot vote in AGMs at company AGMs unless they have received direct proxies from their members, because they have no right to assume what the member wants unless they have direct instructions. Because this country is now being driven, our industry is now being driven by ideology and not productivity. And if we want to turn this country around, we need to be attracting people who are looking at balance sheets, looking at profit and loss statements, understand cost management, understand entrepreneurship, not sitting around a boardroom discussing woke ideas and doing welcome to countries at every meeting. It's not good enough. The other thing that we need to also look at doing is changing the way that the energy markets are being priced. They're currently being priced in 5 to 30-minute blocks. This is creating an enormous opportunity for arbitrage on the energy markets, and by arbitrage that means that people are making a riskless profit. That's often where the speculators come into play. And we need to tackle speculation in this country. It is out of control both on the ASX, because Howard got rid of stamp duty instead of getting— well, it wasn't him, but he should have leaned on, when he brought in the GST, the state premiers got rid of stamp duty on marketable securities and not actually payroll tax. Because we need to get serious about productivity in this country, and speculators are a parasite on the capital markets. We need to destroy speculators stone-cold dead as well, and we need to stop speculating on energy markets, because it is driving up energy costs and it is making it harder for this country to be productive.
Authorised G. Rennick People First Chermside.